Hi, I am Savaya, lecturer in physics, working in Vignan institutions. In today's session, I am going to explain an important electrical network in the current electricity, that is Wheatstone bridge. So look at the screen. There is a photograph of the famous scientist. Have you recognized him? He is Wheatstone. He is Wheatstone. He designed an electrical network in 1843. He used that network to determine the unknown resistance of the given resistor. Now, in this session, we are going to study about the Wheatstone bridge in detail. Now, the contents of this video are Kirchhoff laws in brief, Wheatstone bridge, and some problems related to the Wheatstone bridge. You may have doubt. So, what is the need of this Kirchhoff laws? Generally, the Wheatstone bridge network is analyzed by using the Kirchhoff laws. But the Kirchhoff laws are already explained in the previous session. So, for the sake of the convenience, to understand the concept in the easiest way, I am going to repeat the Kirchhoff laws in this session in brief. Now, come to the Kirchhoff's first law or current law. Let us recall what we studied in the last session. The Kirchhoff's first law states that the sum of the electrical passing towards a junction is equal to the sum of the electrical currents passing away from the junction. I am repeating. The sum of the electrical currents flowing towards a junction is equal to the sum of the currents flowing away from the junction. To explain this law, say I am taking an electrical network. In that, here there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 branches are meeting at a junction O. In that 5 branches, different currents I1, I2, I3, I4 and I5 are passing, as shown in this diagram. See, in that 5 currents, 2 currents are passing towards the junction and 3 currents are passing away from the junction. Here, what are the currents passing towards the junction? I1 and I4 are passing towards the junction. So, the sum of the currents flowing towards the junction is given by I1 plus I4. Here, I2, I3 and I5 are flowing away from the junction. So that the sum of the currents flowing away from the junction is given by I2 plus I3 plus. Now here we calculate the sum of the currents flowing towards the junction and currents flowing away from the junction. What the Kirchhoff's first law says? The sum of the currents flowing towards the junction is equal to the sum of the currents flowing away from the junction. So that we can write I1 plus I4 is equal to I2 plus I3 plus I5. This is the mathematical form of the Kirchhoff's law. Remember, it is not the mathematical form in all the cases. Depending upon the I1, I2, I3, I4 and so on, by taking their directions into the consideration, first we have to calculate the sum of the currents flowing towards the junction, then we have to calculate the sum of the currents flowing away from the junction, and finally let us equate the sum of the currents flowing towards the junction is equal to sum of the currents flowing away from the junction. Now come to the Kirchhoff's second law, Kirchhoff's voltage law. Let us recall what we studied in the previous session. The Kirchhoff's second law states that the algebraic sum of the all potential drops and EMFs in a closed loop is always equal to 0 in any electrical network. I am repeating, the algebraic sum of the all potential drops and EMFs along any closed loop, along any closed path in an electrical network is always equal to 0. Mathematically we can write it as sigma IR plus sigma E is equal to 0. This sigma IR is the algebraic sum of all potential drops, and this sigma E is algebraic sum of all EMFs in the closed loop. Now, to understand this Kirchhoff's voltage law, let us consider a part of the electrical network as shown in the diagram. See here, the circuit contains 1, 2, 3, 4 branches. In 4 branches there are 4 resistors and 2 batteries. For such a loop we are going to apply the Kirchhoff's voltage law. While applying the Kirchhoff's voltage law, we have to follow some rules. First of all, let us consider different currents in the different branches of the network. While assuming the currents, the direction is our choice. We can assume in any direction. Suppose I assume the currents like this. Let it be I1, let it be I2, let it be I3, let it be I4. So I assume 4 currents in the 4 branches. After that, let us assume the closed path in a specific direction. So you may take the direction of the loop also either in clockwise direction or in clockwise direction. It is also our choice. Now here, I am assuming the loop in the clockwise direction along the path A, B, C, D, A like this. So I start at point A and come back to the point A so that a closed loop is forming. So for this closed loop, A, B, C, D, A. For loop, going to apply the Kirchhoff's voltage law. While applying the Kirchhoff's voltage law, sometimes there are rising potentials, sometimes there are falling potentials along the loop. We have to follow a specific sign convention throughout the applications of the Kirchhoff laws to identify the rise or fall of the potential drops and EMFs. For that, the standard notation is given by the 4 cases. Here, see that cases. Sometimes the direction of the current and the direction of the loop are in the same direction. In such cases, the potential is taken as negative. Sometimes the direction of the current and the direction of the loop are in the opposite direction. In such case, the potential drop IR is taken as positive. Why? Because along this loop there is falling potential, whereas along this loop there is rising potential. Now, whenever we are moving from the positive terminal of the battery to the negative terminal of the battery, along the loop there is falling potential, so that the EMF of the battery is taken as negative. And if we are moving from the negative terminal of the battery to the positive terminal along the loop, there is a rising potential. That EMF has to be taken with positive sign. Now, always we have to keep these 4 rules in our mind to apply the Kirchhoff's voltage wherever it is needed. Now, by using these four rules, while writing the drops and the EMFs, I am going to write down the loop equation for the closed loop A, B, C, D, A. So, by using that rules, we can write it as minus I1 R1 minus E1 plus I2 R2 minus I3 R3 plus I4 R4 plus E. This algebraic sum is always equal to 0. I think you understand why some are taken with a negative sign and why some other are taken with a positive sign. Here, direction of the current and the direction of the loop are in the same direction, so that IR is negative. That's why it is taken as minus I1 R1. Here, whenever we are moving across the battery, we are moving from the positive terminal to the negative terminal of the battery, so that the EMF is taken as negative, so that E1 is taken with a negative sign. Similarly, I apply the four rules for the resistors and the EMFs, and finally we get the equation as minus I1 R1 minus E1 plus I2 R2 minus I3 R3 plus I4 plus E2 is equal to 0. This is the way how to apply the Kirchhoff's voltage law. So whenever we are applying the Kirchhoff's current law and Kirchhoff's voltage law for electrical networks, we have to keep these rules in our mind. Which drops are taken as positive, which drops are taken as negative, which EMFs are taken as positive, which EMFs are taken as negative. We have to keep these four rules in our mind, then we can apply the law in the easiest way. If suppose we don't know the rules, then we may be confused. Instead of taking positives, we may take negative. Instead of taking negative sign, we may take positive, which leads to the errors in the measurements of the currents. So, these are the Kirchhoff's current law and voltage law. By applying these laws, we are going to explain the Wheatstone bridge, which was proposed by the scientist Wheatstone. Now, generally, the Wheatstone bridge network consists of 4 resistors, 1 galvanometer and 1 battery. Have you seen the resistors, galvanometer and the battery? See, look at the screen. There are resistor, galvanometer and battery. If suppose you open the backside of your TV or radio, you may see the colorful elements which are having colorful bands like this. That element is nothing but a resistor. Generally, the size of the resistor in the electronic circuit is in the very small, and in the electrical networks, this is represented by a symbol like this, and the resistance is represented by the letter R. This is the galvanometer. The galvanometer is used to detect the electrical current passing through the circuit. See, even though the current is very, very small, this galvanometer can detect the current. Now, generally, the galvanometer is represented by means of the circle containing an arrowhead in it in the electrical networks. Remember one more thing, this galvanometer is having some internal resistance value, and that resistance will be included in the circuit whenever the galvanometer is connected in the circuit. Now, the last one is the battery. Have you seen? So, if you open your remote, if you open your wall clock, and if suppose you open your torch light, everywhere you can see this common device which is called as the cell or battery. The purpose of the battery or the cell is to maintain constant potential difference between the two ends. Generally, in the laboratory, we use the electrical batteries instead of these dry batteries. Now, come to the construction of the Wheatstone bridge by using these elements. Generally, the Wheatstone bridge consists of 4 resistors, and that 4 resistors are connected as the 4 sides of a quadrilateral. The 4 sides are also called as the 4 arms of the quadrilateral. Now, let A, B, C, D are the 4 corners of the quadrilateral. Let P, Q, R and S are the resistance values of the 4 resistors. Now, in between the 2 opposite corners AC, a battery is connected whose EMF is V. So, V is the EMF of the battery. In between the 2 other opposite ends, BD, a galvanometer is connected. Here, this is the galvanometer. Let G is the internal resistance of the galvanometer. Here, we connect the battery across these AC terminals, so that AC side is called as the battery arm. We connect the galvanometer across the BD terminal, so this BD side is called as the galvanometer arm. Now, this network consisting of 4 resistors, galvanometer and the battery is named as Wheatstone bridge network or Wheatstone bridge circuit. Here, due to the connection of the battery, we know that currents are flowing in the different branches. Let us assume that I is the total current drawn from the battery. At this point A, the total current divides into 2 branches. Let I1 is the current flowing in the AB branch and I2 is the current flowing in the AD branch. At this point B, I1 divides into, let Ig is the current passing through the galvanometer and I3 is the current passing through the BC branch. At this point D, this Ig and I2 are combining and say a current I4 is passing through the DC branch. This I3 and I4 are combining at point C, and finally a current I is passing through the battery network. Now here we assume different currents in the different branches of the network. Now for this network we are going to apply the Kirchhoff laws. In this network, are there junctions and are there loops? Yes. At point A, 3 branches are meeting, so that A can be treated as a junction. At point B or at point C or at point D also 3 branches are meeting, so that the points B, C and D can also be taken as the junctions. Are there loops? Yes. Here A, B, D, A, it is a closed loop. B, C, D, B is another closed loop. A, B, C, D, A is another closed loop. That's why in that electrical network there are different junctions and there are different loops. For that junctions and loops, we are going to apply the Kirchhoff laws to analyze the electrical network. Now, let us apply the Kirchhoff's current law at point B by applying Kirchhoff's current law, KCL, at point B, what can we write? At point B, current I1 is flowing into the junction, currents IG and I3 are flowing away from the junction, so that the sum of the currents flowing towards the junction is equal to sum of the currents flowing away from the junction. From that we can write I1 is equal to I3 plus Ig. Let it be equation number 1. Apply the Kirchhoff's current law at another junction D. Here I2 and Ig are flowing towards the junction and I4 is flowing away from the junction, so that we can write I2 plus Ig is equal to I4, let it be equation number 2. Now I am going to apply the Kirchhoff's voltage law for 2 loops. By applying Kirchhoff's voltage law, KVL, for loop A, B, D, A, A, B, D, A, like this. A, B, D, A. We are going to write down the Kirchhoff's voltage law. Let us recall the rules what we studied in the Kirchhoff's voltage law. What are the 2 rules for the voltage drops? If current and loop are in the same direction, IR is negative. If current and loop are in the opposite directions, IR is positive. Apply that rule here. Current direction and the loop direction are in the same direction, so that drop is negative, minus I1P. Next, in this BD branch also, direction of the current and the direction of the loop are in the same direction, so that minus IgG. Next, in this DA branch also, direction of the current, in this DA branch, direction and the direction of the loop are in the opposite direction, so that the drop is positive, plus I2R is equal to 0. So by rearranging the terms, we have I1P plus IgG is equal to I2R. Let it be equation number 3. Now let us apply the Kirchhoff's voltage law again for loop B, C, D, B. By applying KVL for loop B, C, D, B, what we get? In the BC branch, direction of the current and the direction of the loop are in the same direction, minus I3Q. In the CD branch, direction of the current and the direction of the loop are in the opposite direction, plus I4S. In the DB branch, direction of the current and the direction of the loop are in the opposite direction, plus IgG is equal to 0. Here also, by rearranging the terms, we have I3Q. I3Q is equal to I4S plus IgG. Let it be equation number 4. So here we apply Kirchhoff's current law for two junctions, and also we apply the Kirchhoff's voltage law for two loops. Now, for the convenience of the derivation, I am going to write down these 1, 2, 3, 4 equations at a place like this. So up to this, what we have done, just we apply the Kirchhoff's voltage law and Kirchhoff's current law for the Wheatstone bridge network. What is the use of this application of the Kirchhoff laws? If suppose we observe the network, there are 4 resistor values. Depending upon the 4 resistor values, currents are passing through the circuit and potential drops are developed across the resistors. Suppose if the potential at point B, VB is greater than the potential at point D. That means the point B is at a higher potential, the point D is at lower potential. Then what happened? The current flows from higher potential to the lower potential, so that the current in the galvanometer flows in the downward direction from point B to point D. If suppose the resistance so that the potential at B is less than the potential at D, then what happened? D is at a higher potential, B is at a lower potential. Because of that, the current flows from the higher potential point to the lower potential point, that is in the upward direction. If suppose the resistor values P, Q, RS are chosen so that the potential at A is equal to the potential at B, then what happened? If suppose the resistance values P, Q, R and S values are chosen so that if the potential at point B is equal to the potential at point D, then what happens? Point B and point D are at same potential, then there is no current passing through the galvanometer. It means Ig is equal to 0. It means if VB and VD are equal, then the current passing through the galvanometer is equal to 0. Under these conditions, we can say that the Wheatstone bridge is balanced. The Wheatstone bridge is balanced. That means whenever we are saying that the Wheatstone bridge is balanced, what it means? It means that point B and point same potentials and the current passing through the galvanometer is equal to 0. Under this balancing condition, the scientist Wheatstone derived a formula between the 4 resistor values used in the electrical network. To derive that equation, let us substitute this Ig is equal to 0 in equation 1, 2, 3 and 4. So the equations can be rewrite as equation 1 becomes, by substituting Ig is equal to 0, we have I1 is equal to I3. Let it be equation number 5. By substituting Ig is equal to 0, the equation 2 becomes I2 is equal to I4. This is equation number 6. By substituting Ig is equal to 0 in this equation, we have I1P is equal to I2R. Let it be equation number 7. So equation 3 becomes equation 7. By substituting Ij is equal to 0 in the equation number 4, it becomes I3Q is equal to I4S, let it be equation number 8. Now let us take equation number 7 by 8. What it gives? It gives I1P divided by I3Q is equal to I2R divided by I4S. But already from equation number 5, I1 is equal to I3, so that these two are cancelled. And from equation number 6, we have I2 is equal to I4, so that I2 and I4 are cancelled. So we have P by Q is equal to R by S. This is the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge. So whenever the current passing through the galvanometer is equal to 0, or whenever the two ends of the galvanometer are at same potential, then we can write down a relation between the four resistors used in the four arms of the Wheatstone bridge as P by Q is equal to R by S. See, don't remember this equation. Sometimes to confuse you, instead of using this PQRS, R1, R2, R3, R4 may be given. Or to confuse you, this may be given as P, this may be given as Q, this may be given as R, this may be given as S. That means what notation we used in the network may not be followed by the notations in the problems or in the other books. So in such cases, we have to remember the formula wisely. So how to remember this formula? What is this P by Q? This P by Q is the ratio of the two resistors used in the left side and right side in the upper arms. Whereas this R by S is the ratio of the resistance values used in the, again, left to the right in the lower arms of the Wheatstone bridge. Left resistance by the right resistance in the upper arm is equal to left resistance by the right resistance in the lower arm. So keep that point in mind, then without any confusion we can apply the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge for solving the electrical network. Or the same also can be remembered by using another one. By taking this S to this side and Q that side, we have PQ, we have PR. We have, by taking this S to this side and Q that side, we have PS is equal to QR. So what is this PS? What is this QR? PS is the product of the two opposite resistors. What is this QR? Again, QR is also the opposite resistors in the network. That's why the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge can be remembered. It can be remembered by using this one also without any confusion. What is that? The product of the resistances connected in the two opposite arms are equal. So either by using this or by using this, we can remember the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge. Now using this balancing condition, we can determine the unknown resistance value given for us. Suppose an unknown resistance is given for us. Let us connect the unknown resistance value in the first arm of the Wheatstone bridge. Let it be the unknown resistance which is to be determined. Let us fix a standard resistance value in the place of R. Now change the resistance Q and S. By the trial and error method, change these values until we get zero current in the galvanometer. Whenever the galvanometer shows zero current, we can say that the bridge is balanced. Whenever the bridge is balanced, Note down these resistor values Q and S. Using this equation, we can write P is equal to Q R by S. By using this equation, we can determine the unknown resistance value given for us. Okay? Using this balancing condition, we can determine the unknown resistance value given for us. Now, initially, this network was designed only for the determination of the resistance values. But nowadays, this Wheatstone bridge network is using for so many practical applications. By using the techniques of the transducers, the Wheatstone bridge network is used to determine the intensity of the radiation by using the instrument radiation pyrometer. By using the same principle, an electronic bridge is developed which is named as the strain gauge to determine the loads. Similarly, it is also used to determine some physical quantities like pressure, temperature, etc. using the simple principle P by Q is equal to R by S under the balancing conditions of the Wheatstone bridge. If suppose instead of the resistors, capacitors are given in the circuit, can we apply this condition? Yes, we can apply the condition for the network containing 4 capacitors also. One more thing is, see these two diagrams. Have you identified any difference between these two diagrams? Say, in these two diagrams, the position of the galvanometer and the position of the battery are interchanged. The position of the galvanometer and the position of the battery are interchanged. By applying the Kirchhoff's laws, again we can prove that the same balancing condition can be applied even the positions of the galvanometer and the battery are interchanged. That means for this network and for this network also we can apply the same balancing condition, that is P by Q is equal to R by S. Thing is, while solving the problems, instead of giving the Wheatstone bridge network in this form, that may be given in the different forms. Suppose, let us see this network. So, it looks like Wheatstone bridge. For this network also we can apply the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge. If suppose we see that network, the shape of that network is not similar to the Wheatstone bridge, but the arrangement of the resistors is similar to the Wheatstone bridge. So, here there are 4 resistors, here also there are 4 resistors, here there is galvanometer, here there is a resistor instead of the galvanometer. The arrangement of these 5 elements and the arrangement of these 5 elements are similar, so that that network also forms the Wheatstone bridge. For that network also we can apply the conditions what we studied for the Wheatstone bridge. See another network in the different form. Here also there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 resistors and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 junctions. Now this network can also be modified as the Wheatstone bridge. For this network also we can apply the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge, that is P by Q is equal to R by S. But remember, sometimes 4 junctions, 5 resistors may not always form the Wheatstone bridge. To confuse you, 5 resistors may be given, 4 junctions may be given, battery may be given, but that may not form the Wheatstone bridge. That's why whenever the network is given in the form of other shapes than this, then let us redraw the circuit. Let us redraw the circuit by observing element by element. If all that elements are forming exactly the shape of the Wheatstone bridge, then only apply the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge for the solving of the problems. So I think you understand the concept of what we studied about the Wheatstone bridge. So here what we studied in this session? First we studied the Kirchhoff's current law, Kirchhoff's voltage law. Then we study the construction of the Wheatstone bridge. After that, we apply the Kirchhoff laws for the Wheatstone bridge, and we study about the condition for the balancing of the Wheatstone bridge. Whenever the bridge is balanced, what is the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge? That is also studied. After that, the different shapes of the networks which may come across in problems is also discussed in this session. Now, to improve the understanding capacity of this Wheatstone bridge, we are going to do some problems. Now, let us see the electrical network which contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 resistors which are connected in between the points A, B. See the problem. Find the equivalent resistance between A and B. Equivalent resistance between A and B. Let us see the 5 resistors. Are the 5 resistors satisfying the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge? Let it be P, let it be Q, let it be R, and let it be S. So here the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge is P by Q is equal to R by S. Here is it right? 1 by 2 is equal to 2 by 4. So 1 by 2 is equal to 2 by 4. So the condition is satisfied. 2 by 4 is also nothing but 1 by 2. So that the condition of the Wheatstone bridge is satisfied. Already we know that whenever the condition of the Wheatstone bridge is satisfied, the Wheatstone bridge is under balancing condition. Whenever the Wheatstone bridge is under balancing condition, then there is no current passing through this resistance which is connected between the points CD. So means even that element is eliminated from the circuit, there is no difference in the currents passing through the circuit, so that we can read the circuit by eliminating the 3 ohms resistor like this. See here, there are 5 resistors, there are only 4 resistors. The central resistor, 3 ohms resistor is eliminated. Why? Because no current is passing through that resistor, that is eliminated, and the remaining resistors are represented in the circuit. Now here, this is 1 ohm, this is 2 ohm, both are in series. So for the series combination, the series resistance is given by R series is equal to R1 plus R2. Again, these 2 ohms and 4 ohms are also in series combination, so that the effective resistance of these 2 resistors is 6 ohms, so that this network can be redrawn as 1, 2 are replaced, 2, 4 are replaced by 6 ohms. How the 3 ohms and 6 ohms resistors are connected? They are connected in the parallel combination, so that the effective resistance is given by R parallel is equal to R1 R2 divided by R1 plus R2. So substitute the values, it gives 3 into 6 divided by 3 plus 6. This is equal to 2 ohms. So by using the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge, the circuit is easily simplified by eliminating the resistance in the place of the galvanometer, right? In the given circuit, find the current passing through the resistance R is equal to 2 ohms. This problem was given in the 2015 JEE Advance. So there is a complicated network. We wanted to determine the current passing through the resistance R is equal to 2 ohms. For that, let us mark the points at various junctions. Let it be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. See, in the branch CD, there is no resistance, that's why C and D are at same potential, they can be treated as the same point in the coming part of the calculations. Now look into the diagram. Can you recognize any part of the circuit as the Wheatstone bridge? See here, this part, is in the form of the Wheatstone bridge. Now I am redrawing that part here. This is 1 ohm between AF. Next, this is 2 ohm between FE. Next, between AG, two ohms. Next, between GE 4 ohms. And between GF there is 8 ohms. See, the given circuit is in the form of the Wheatstone bridge. That too, the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge is also satisfied. Why? Because this one by this one, 1 by 2 is equal to this one by this one, 2 by 4. So the condition of the Wheatstone bridge is satisfied, so that no current will be passing through this resistance 8 ohm, that can be eliminated from the circuit while calculating the equivalent resistance. By eliminating that, the equivalent resistance can be written as 1 ohm, 2 ohm, 4 ohm. Now this 1 ohm and 2 ohm are in series. The equivalent resistance is 3 ohms. 2 4 ohms are in series. The equivalent resistance is 6 ohms. These 3 ohms and 6 ohms are in parallel to one another, so that the equivalent resistance is equal to R1 R2 divided by R1 plus R2, that is equal to 2 ohms. Now in between these A, F, G, E points, the entire network can be replaced by a single resistor of resistance 2 ohms. Okay. Now let us see the diagram where that entire network is replaced by the 2 ohms resistance. Here this is A, B, C, D, E. Now the resistance in the entire network between this AE branch, AE part is replaced by 2 ohms here. That's why that entire branch is replaced by a 2 ohms resistor here. Now see here again, these 5 resistors forms a Wheatstone bridge like this. This is the common point, I treat it as C. This is the point A. This is 6 ohms. This is 12 ohms. This is 4 ohms. This is 2 ohms. And this is 10 ohms. So let it be P, Q, R, S. Here also the condition is satisfied. Why? Because 2 by 4 is equal to 6 by 12. Now, whenever the condition is satisfied, no current will be passing through this 10 ohms resistor, that can be eliminated from the circuit. So that the circuit can be redrawn as like this. So the 10 ohms is just eliminated from the circuit and that can be redrawn like that. Now here 2 ohm and 4 ohms are in series, 6 ohms and 12 ohms are in series, so that the circuit can be redrawn. This is R 2 ohms. This is 6 and 12 are in series, 18 ohms. And 2 and 4 are in series, that is 6 ohms. Now this 18 ohms and 6 ohms are in parallel to one another. The equivalent resistance is given by R parallel is equal to R1 R2 divided by R1 plus R2. By simplifying that, the equivalent resistance of these two will be getting as 4.5 ohms. So that this can be redrawn like this. Now these 2 ohms and 4.5 ohms are in series, so that the circuit can be redrawn as 6.5 volts and 6.5 volts. .5. Now we want to find out the current passing through the circuit. For that we can apply the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. From that we have I is equal to V by R. This is equal to 6.5 divided by 6.5, that is equal to 1 ampere. One more problem, it is the last one. Say a Wheatstone bit is shown in the figure here, balanced when the carbon resistor is used as R1. This is the carbon resistor, has the color code orange, red, brown. For R1, the color code is orange, red, brown. The resistors R2 and R4 are 80 ohms and 40 ohms respectively. Assuming that the color code for carbon resistor gives their accurate values, the color code for the carbon resistor is used as R3 would be dash. Here R2, R4 values are given. There R2 is equal to 80 ohms and R4 is equal to 40 ohms. The color code of R1 are given. We want to determine the color code of R3 resistance. So for that we should know the color coding procedure. To identify the resistance value of the resistors, in case of the carbon resistors, a color coding technique is adopted. See the table, it contains different colors in one column and the corresponding numbers are the digits in the other column. For different colors, different numbers are assigned. So the first color gives the first digit of the resistance. The second color gives the second digit of the resistance and the third color gives the decimal multiplier. Here, what is the number corresponding to the orange? That is 3. It is the first digit. What is the number corresponding to the red? It is a 2. It is the second digit. And the third color gives the decimal multiplier. What is the third color? Brown. For brown, the number assigned is 1, so that we can write it as 10 power 1. This is the notation what we use in the color code. The first color gives the first digit, second color gives the second digit, and the third color gives the decimal multiplier. That means it has to be written as the power of the 10. So this is equal to 320 ohms. So R1 is known, R2 is known, R4 is known. Generally in the carbon resistors, there is some tolerance value in the resistance. Tolerance means the variation of the resistance in between the two values. But in the problem it is mentioned that the color code of carbon resistor gives their accurate values. That means there is no need of taking of the tolerance values while solving this problem. Now R1 is known, R2 is known, R4 is known. We want to determine R3 value. How to do that? For that, we have to use the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge. Why? Because it is already mentioned in the problem that the bridge is balanced. So by applying the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge, we can write R1 by R2 is equal to left by right is equal to left by right, that is R3 by R4. From this, we have to find out R3 value, that R3 is equal to R1 R4 divided by R2. R1 is equal to 320 ohms into R4 is equal to 40 ohms divided by R2 is equal to 80 ohms. So this 40 cancelled 2 times and it cancels. So after making mathematical simplification, we get it as 160 ohms. This 160 ohms can be written as 16 into 10 power 1 ohm. There the problem is not over. We have to find out the color code for the carbon resistor which is used as R3. That means corresponding to this 160 ohms or 16 into 10 to the power of 1 ohm, we have to identify the corresponding color code. So the first digit is for the first color ring. The first digit is 1, the corresponding color is brown. The second digit is 6, the corresponding color is blue. And the decimal multiplier contains 10 power 1. For 1 the color is brown, so that the required color coding for the R3 is brown, blue, brown. Okay, here first of all using the color code we obtain the resistance value R1, then by using R2, R4 values and balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge, we determine R3 value, its value is equal to 160 ohms. Again by using the color code table, we obtain the corresponding colors of the resistance value of 160 ohms. They are brown, blue, brown. Okay, so by seeing this video, you can understand how to apply the Kirchhoff laws to the Wheatstone bridge, what is the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge, and what are the different ways of giving the electrical networks in the examinations, and how to apply the balancing condition of the Wheatstone bridge for the solving of the problems. Okay. Thank you one and all.